Ready?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys, welcome back. This is the John Hollywood Show. And if this is your first time listening, welcome. If you're coming back to join me for another episode, welcome back. Today on the show, I have my good friend Cass with me. Cass is somebody that I've known for a few years now. We've gone through so much together, and it's crazy to see where we were a few years ago and where we are now, to include this. We both have experience with podcasting. She's got her own. She doesn't work on it as much anymore, but she's here helping me develop mine. I'm going to let Cass introduce herself a little bit more, and we're going to get this show going.
So my full name is actually Cassandra Kwielford, and so I live here in Austin. And right now I'm actually more of like just kind of stay-at-home wife, dog mom, and then I help my husband who works from home. He's a software engineer, so he works from home. That's why I have this cool setup. This is not mine. So I just help him. We have a couple businesses, so I help him with some stuff. Otherwise, I kind of just do my own thing. And yeah.
So what kind of stuff do you do with him on the business side of things?
So I would say in the beginning it was more hands-on stuff where it's just like maybe boring work, researching, stuff like that. He works, one of his businesses is in the cannabis industry. He does like websites and marketing and all that for dispensaries, and kind of modernizing the cannabis industry because it needs to be like really bad. A lot of businesses need to be redone. Anyways, but now it's more of the best way that I could support him has become just being there like as a friend, like the rest of our relationship. So bouncing back and forth about ideas, and maybe it's about a client, helping with him with a certain project, but not so much hands-on anymore, because we find that like it's better, like he gets the most help if we kind of are just like verbalizing things back and forth, and then he can get ideas based on that, and then just supporting him with feeding him and like things like along those lines. And so he can really focus on all of the work that he has to do, because he normally has a lot of it.
So since we've had a relationship for a little while now, one thing I want to kind of pinpoint and talk a little bit more about is like your prior connection with working in the community. So like a little bit ago, you were working with trying to develop a more like a business management group and kind of like a community with one of your former business partners, and you were out and about on a regular basis, out of the house, kind of exact opposite of what you're doing now.
Literally the opposite of what I'm doing now.
So can you elaborate more on that and trying to like give the audience a little bit more of a connection on what you had to do on that side of things?
So just more behind the scenes of what I was doing, basically.
Yeah, before.
Okay. So I am someone who I love to help. I am a giver, and I am just like there to help you with everything and anything. So what I was doing before was more, like you said, hands-on in the community, and specifically more of like the fitness community, fitness entrepreneur type community. A lot of people I knew or I know are personal trainers and whatnot. So it was a lot of go, go, go. And it was me. I kind of live a little on the outskirts of the city, so I'd have to drive into the city almost every day.
Every day.
Yeah. So like in the beginning, I didn't really know anyone. So it was starting with just going to, a bigger like fitness event, meeting people there. And then from there, whoever I met, maybe going to another event that they invited me to, and it kind of just like would snowball. And then I would make meetings with people and be like, hey, you want to grab coffee? Like that was the thing. Like I just did my taxes, and last year you would not believe how many Whole Foods and like coffee shop receipts that I had.
I believe it. I believe it. I mean, I remember every time I text you, you were like, hey, I'm at Whole Foods right now. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Again, this is like the 5th day this week.
Yeah. So, well, Whole Foods has great coffee and a great food bar. So it was a place to have meetings at.
So would you
So
say going in that direction, you were extroverted prior to going and helping out with your old business partner? Were you an extrovert or were you introverted before
So
that?
I can definitely be both. Like
Okay.
I think whenever I've taken like one of those tests, I'm always like right on the border like 49, 51.
Hmm.
So the problem is that yes, I can be extremely like extroverted and just be out with people like all the time. I can't do that. But the problem with me is because I'm such a giver that I will put all of those other people first and myself last. So like self-care for me would be almost non-existent as much as I try telling myself otherwise. And
Hmm.
so it's really hard for me to balance. It's like I get up, go, and I'm out the door. Everything is about everyone else and helping other people. But like it's I definitely figured out that that wasn't gonna work very much longer because
So when you ran into that point where you were noticing that you weren't taking care of yourself, what steps were you taking to really make that a priority?
so when I first noticed, I just justified it and I just kept doing it
Hmm.
because I didn't realize the extreme of it until I had then obviously pivoted the other direction. I didn't really realize how bad it was in when it was like happening. So wait, what was the specific question you had?
So the steps that you were taking to when you realized that you weren't taking care of yourself, when you weren't taking care of yourself, what steps did you take to make your personal health a priority? Better yet,
So the first thing I did was delete Instagram.
social
So
media as a
social
whole.
media, just being on my phone in general.
Hmm.
So like I had made so many connections with so many people, the most people that I've ever known in my entire life. Like it was just it was a lot. So I needed to I did do the extreme of deleting Instagram because that's where I was seeing all those people, keeping track of all those people and
Hmm.
seeing what they were doing and whatever. So and then just yeah, being off of my phone in general, I put my phone on do not disturb. My phone still sits on do not disturb. That is a rule, a boundary that I put into place that
Hmm.
it stays on do not disturb pretty much at all times,
Hmm.
unless I'm like I'm driving, you know, or going to meet someone. But yeah, that was definitely one of the biggest things that benefited me a lot because it's for me, I don't like being interrupted in the moment. And
Hmm.
so when I'm at home, especially taking care of more of myself, whether that's you know, reading a book or just cleaning, because for me, self-care is my house needs to be clean.
Hmm.
So those things like a ping on my Apple Watch, like someone texting me or this, like that stuff is like terrible for my mental health. So I would say the biggest steps were deleting Instagram and keeping my phone on do not disturb.
I'd love to elaborate a little bit more on the whole deleting Instagram thing because when you were in that environment where you had to be connected to all of these people, and Instagram was more of a business tool than it was
Yep.
like uh, personal for you.
Yep.
How hard was it for you to delete that and really keep yourself from getting it right back 15 minutes later?
It was really easy because I was there. I was like, it was like, you know, sometimes in life you get pushed to do something. Like I was
Hmm.
there. Like it was super easy. It was a relief and I mean, pretty quickly I was like, oh, this is how life is supposed to be. Like, oh, social media isn't supposed to consume your life. Like
Hmm.
it's supposed to be a matter of creating and getting off and not just sitting there scrolling. But
Hmm.
when you're using it as a tool for business, the fine line you can't see. Just it's so confusing. So
Hmm.
yeah, good answer.
So no, yeah, you definitely answered what I was looking for, but I think a lot of people would come to that point where they have become accustomed to using it as a personal thing,
Mm,
and they're not necessarily needing it for a business thing. And then the only way for them to really outlet from the stuff they're going through is by going on social media and comparing themselves to the things on social media.
yeah.
So it's like I'm scrolling through my Instagram page and I'm seeing, oh, Sally's got some great boobs, and Tom's got a six pack, and it's like all of this stuff that oh, this guy's got a nice car and a huge house, and It's like, this is what I want. I keep comparing myself to it, but it's like, I have to remove myself from that to really focus on where I want to go to in the future.
So I think obviously it's going to depend on per person and like what their goals are, right? So
Yeah.
it just depends on what you want. Like if my goals were different and I wasn't pivoting the way that I was, and I would have stayed on Instagram. But I knew, I mean, long story short, my husband had quit his 9-to-5 job that he did work from home for, but he had other businesses and he needed to quit his 9-to-5 so he could go full in on his other stuff. And so that had happened like a couple months before. And so that's what I mean by life was kind of like pushing me to pivot as well, because our whole life changed when he quit his job. So it wasn't matching up. The life that I had created, even business wise, it wasn't working anymore. So what's most important to me is my husband and our relationship. So that's what I had to make a priority, and not the community and not what I was doing. I needed to kind of say goodbye in a way. And so it was really easy for me because I mean, I've been with my husband for 11 years and we're high school sweethearts. So it was like, it felt, I mean, to even now, and it's been, I don't know, 5 months or so. And I feel like we've just started dating. And so it's that time we can spend together. I mean, we're in quarantine right now, but like we're living life how we would normally because we kind of stay home. And
this is normal.
Like it is super normal. Like we stay home and screw around and work all day. I mean, and that's our life, and we wouldn't have it any other way.
So I want to talk a little bit more about one of your other business adventures, which was Deep Breath Love. And you were trying to create a company that was building a quote that's something you have a connection with already, and put it into artwork, which would be something that you reflect on a daily basis. So what made you do that? What made you want to sell that connection, so to speak?
So DBL, Deep Breath Love, was created because I had enough. Like I was like, I've been trying to figure out what I want to do. I know that I want to be an entrepreneur, or at least live the lifestyle of an entrepreneur. Like, to be like, my husband is way more of an entrepreneur than I am, but like so
baby steps, you got to get there somehow.
Well, like, I mean, I've now learned that I don't want it as much as I thought I did. But anyway, so Deep Breath Love was created because I just needed to do something, and I didn't know what to do. So I literally, it was like late one night, my husband went to sleep and I was up journaling still, and I had thought of the idea. I was like, okay, I really like quotes, and quotes mean a lot to me. I mean, I have some tattooed on me, and they're really good reminders for me to ground me and remind me of like my truth, and it's just extremely helpful. So I was like, okay, so how can I give this to other people? Not everyone wants a tattoo. So I was like, okay, I'll make signs. So I have never really used the saw before. I didn't even know, like I didn't really do much staining or anything. So I just went to town. I figured out how to make a sign from scratch. And like I was making, like I was doing it all like from scratch, and it was taking me so long to make them. But yeah, so I ended up making a business, and I made custom signs that had your quote basically on them. And actually,
I remember getting that text message at like 2 a.m. And this is at like the beginning of our friendship, when you were like, hey, what's your favorite quote? And we hadn't met each other yet. So this is like completely over Instagram. So it's like, hey, what's your favorite quote? I'm making you a sign. I'm like, this girl is doing what? She's making me a sign. Why is she gonna make me a sign? It's gonna be like a poster board. She's gonna draw some shit on it. I was dying. I was like, all right, I'll figure it out. I'll send you one.
That's hilarious. Wait, I don't know if you said earlier or not, but we did meet on Instagram.
Yes, yeah.
Your DMs, that's where we met. We were talking about.
See, you could have a platonic relationship with somebody from Instagram. You don't have to be sliding in like a fucking creep all the time.
Yeah. So funny. But
the whole reason why I brought it up was
Uh-oh, someone didn't turn their phone on.
No, the alarm is on because my son's supposed to be on a video chat with school.
Oh,
Yes, I'm a co-parent, and I have to make sure that he's doing his homework during this quarantine. Anyways, we'll keep moving on from that. My whole reasoning for bringing that up is the biggest purpose of doing this channel is drawing the connection with the community. And a lot of people that listen to this already know that I work in law enforcement or I work in public service, and people are afraid of communicating, for one, and then people are even more afraid of communicating with people of authority, because the second that you see them, they're like, oh shit, the law is here. Like, they don't want to, they clench up and they choose not to talk. And my biggest thing is I'm a normal dude. I'm just like anybody else. I go to the same grocery store. I wipe my ass the same. Like, we're all similar, but it's like giving the ability to show people that, hey, it's okay to talk. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to communicate with everything you're going through. It doesn't matter what it is, because, me, I do what I do as a job, as a profession, and you do what you do as for your job as a profession, and we could communicate like how we do on a regular basis. And do we ever talk about the work shit that I'm going through? No.
oh, no, no.
Because I mean, it's stuff like I want to build a relationship with someone on more of a level of, hey, I'm more than just a job.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like there's more to talk about than the job, like business growth or personal growth, things that you're going through on a personal level, physical fitness journeys, emotional, support, whether or not there's something going on in your day-to-day life. And it's cool that, over the years, me and you have been able to develop that relationship. So it's like, don't be afraid to talk to people. And what you were doing with your podcast before is like talking about the honest truth. And it's like, everybody should be able to realize that you don't have to be so censored with everything, right?
Yep.
And it's like that, just running through that conversation, a normal conversation, and not being so like staged with everything that we do, is like, it's okay.
I think that why we get along so well in that regard is because a lot of times I don't have a filter, and I'll share more with people than people normally do.
Oversharing at its finest.
Yeah, I definitely can overshare and talk too much. So, so yeah, for sure.
So, what would you say would be one of your biggest personal challenges that you go through on a day-to-day basis?
Right now
Mm-hmm.
is whatever I'm like working on. If actually that's always a thing that I think is in the back of my head that I struggle with is, am I doing the right thing?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever I'm currently doing, like, should I be doing this or should I be doing something else?
Mm-hmm.
And that could be, even if I don't know. I just feel like I'm always doing something wrong. I don't know why. It's something.
So self-doubt.
Yeah, it comes from my childhood. I know exactly why it happens, but
Mm-hmm.
it's I would say that's always my biggest challenge, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously I get better with it as time goes. But yeah, it's always there though. Super fun.
I definitely I have personal experience with that on a somewhat regular basis, but like my position at work has trained me to not necessarily fake it till you make it, but being prepared enough to, like, you have to trust the shit that you're doing. And it's like the things that I would be dealing with at work could go catastrophically wrong, and it would fall back on me for making that decision. But understanding, like, if I trust what I'm doing and how, like, I prepared myself to do it, then it's like, okay, even if I get it wrong, it falls back on the rules and procedures and shit that have been set in place.
Mm.
And I know, like, the stuff that you're talking about kind of goes more on, like, is this the right time to do it, so to speak?
Yeah.
Like the self-doubt of, is this the time that I should be doing this? Is this the time that I should be doing that? Or kind of like the steps. Because I mean, I'm sure you're talking about, or I would understand if you were talking about the business side of things. Like, am I doing this at the right time? Am I jumping in at the right time?
I mean, it can apply to anything really, but I understand what you're saying, but I think for me, it's just more of like it comes down to just really having faith that
Mhm.
you're exactly where you need to be, like no matter what. Like you're exactly where you need to be because you're currently learning something, whether you realize it or not. You're currently learning so you can move forward. So even so when it pops up or whatever, it's not real, right? So it's getting
Yeah.
in the habit of just making sure that like, oh no, like I'm good. Like it's having faith that you're exactly where you need to be. And it always ends up where it's like, oh yeah, guess I was right. That didn't work out. That didn't work out. But it always works out, right? So why
Yeah.
do we
Yeah.
do that to ourselves? Like why? I'm just like, yeah. So I mean, like I said, I'm getting better with it. I think it's something that I'll always struggle with. It's just kind of in me.
I think the thing, like, I could probably relay that to for me recently was, in the end of last year, I was like, yeah, I'm going to start recording. And I kept saying, I'm going to start doing it. I'm going to start doing it. I'm going to start doing it. And then I was like, I'm kind of insecure about it. I don't know if I could do it. And then, like, now that I'm doing it and I'm becoming more comfortable with it, and I'm like, hey, just fucking do it. Like, stop saying that you're going to do it and actually just go and do it. So
Yeah,
it's like,
totally.
trusting it. It's like, okay. And I mean, you've helped out with that for sure. So
Yeah. I think for you from watching what you've done in the past, what, 3, 4 months, barely, I would say from my perspective, what's probably really helped you with that is TikTok and just making so much content. Like you have been like just a total badass and just putting out content like no one else is. And I think that's really helped you practice just not giving a fuck for one. And I think for me, like as your friend to watch you do it, I'm just like, holy shit, like this is John, like this is awesome. And the thing is like you would never ever have been able to do that on Instagram. The platform is,
yeah.
and it's not like you're even allowed to. It's like your content wouldn't even be seen if you were like posting those things. I feel like it's just not the same. TikTok is everyday real people.
Oh my gosh. And it's crazy. Like you could have a million people on there as an active following, and 10,000 people are going to fucking see your video because of just the way that it works out. It's so crazy. It doesn't make any sense. You could have 5 people and a million, 2 million people see that one video. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, you just had something recently. You uploaded 4 videos and then like, boom, you're fucking
Dude, I
over 12,000 people are following you now. So it's,
literally, that's a whole nother story, but I'll stick to you. Uh,
uh, oh my gosh. But
but yeah, go ahead.
no, it's all you. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, it's been really cool to watch you evolve so quickly. Because I mean, obviously you've always been there, but it's
Mm,
more like being able to relay who you really are through social media.
mm,
And it's just, I think and it's cool when you've attracted this tribe of people that are your people, and you're helping so many people, and it happens so fast. And I'm like, I mean, how many times have we like texted back and forth? We're just like, okay, how do we make sure that like we can really help as many people as possible
yeah,
with it,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. And it's like, so my whole feeling about that, like I'm getting a little flustered right now. It's like, um, it's one, like the rule of one. If I could help one person and like really change the way that they're beating the fucking shit out of themselves mentally, because I've been there. And it's like, if I could help that one person draw the connection with, you are the fucking biggest influence in your life. Nobody else is that influence for you. It's you and the mental strength that you approach things with are the biggest influence. And I've had hundreds of people reach out to me since then. Like, my goal was one,
Yeah.
and like I'm over here with way surpassed that, and it's just unreal. Like it blows my mind just thinking about it. Like a few months ago, it was how am I gonna reach people and draw the connection with the channel
Mhm.
and have them listen to the content that I'm making and like soak it in enough to realize that you are not your enemy. You are not the enemy of yourself. Like this is you are your best friend, and you need to be your best friend, and you have to find yourself and really help yourself before you could like reach out and be that person for somebody else. And so
Yeah.
many people are so willing to go and help other people that they
Mhm.
forget that they need to help themselves.
Eh,
And we've all been a victim. Yeah, we've all done it. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's why it was great to hear like you brought that up when you were so engulfed in and building the community and being in the community and building those relationships, and then you kind of got to the point where you built so many relationships that you forgot about yourself. And
Mhm.
it's like we it's only natural that we want to give, and then we kind of end up giving so much that we just shit on ourselves. Like it's like, well, I'm in this hole and it really sucks. And now that I gave so much to everybody else, there's nobody here that I've given all of me to that is here to help me get out of this hole.
Yeah, so I think what's interesting is to touch on what I was doing before too is that, yeah, I was giving, and there would be maybe certain things that would make me then feel fulfilled and seen because of that, and so I could keep doing it. And so it's like, okay, but what happens when it's not reciprocated and you're giving, but like people aren't recognizing you for it? And so then when I started seeing like, oh, yeah, I'm a giving person. I want to do this. But because I know myself, though, like I know deep down that a portion of it is because I want to be seen, right? And
Mm.
I want people to, maybe say that, I don't know, I'm awesome or something. I mean, you know what I mean? Not like being
Hey, you're awesome.
but validation. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what I was looking for. And so, but when you don't get that validation, what happens?
yeah. This is true. I mean,
So,
I feel like it goes back to like the whole reason why people are so stuck on social media
mhm,
is like we're looking for the like,
mhm.
and we're looking for the comment, we're looking for the love, and it's like yeah, you're looking for this on a social platform that is only it's temporary, and the second that you get rid of it and you stop becoming um, so desperate or accustomed to getting those things from a social platform, and you start giving that back to yourself on a much regular basis, like we don't become as needed, you become more introverted than extroverted.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I'm living that example right now. I don't, I love my life now, and I don't have, I mean, you know that I talk to you pretty much on a regular basis, but you're one of the
Yeah,
few people that I do
yeah,
that with,
yeah.
and I don't answer to anyone else because I kind of just have to do that because I will give too much and I will put other people first. So it's just, I have to have boundaries and be aware.
I love it. I love that. So one of the biggest things that you do, one of the biggest rituals you do on a daily basis that helps you with that helps you stay grounded with that. I know you've brought up journaling a few times. I would have to say journaling would definitely be a perfect outlet just for you and
Mhm.
like notating things. What would you say would be the biggest ritual you do on a daily basis?
It has to be one thing.
I mean, it could be a few. I mean,
So
whatever helps
I
you.
would say morning routine is always super key. Um, the minute like that I get up, it's immediately brush my teeth because getting the bacteria out of my mouth. Immediately doing that, going to the bathroom and washing my face. Like
Mm.
those three things. Like if I don't do those immediately upon getting up, for some reason, the rest of my day doesn't always go the same because then I just don't feel the same, right? And it's like I'm not clean, so like I have to do it immediately, and then obviously drink water, and then from there, depending on the day, most days I will journaling is so key. And if there are times that I kind of stray away from it, whether I was like on vacation or whatever, and I come back to it, I always write in my journal like, oh, I forgot how wonderful this is because it's like basically talking to yourself, and
Yeah.
is so key because the way that I journal is oftentimes um, really, I'm talking to the coach that's like inside of me. So
Yeah.
it's like me being like blah, 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 but this, and then like the other side of me, right, more of the coach than the me is being like, but look, like, and so that needs to happen. So for some people, journaling, maybe they don't need it that way. Maybe it's just talking to someone else and doing that. But for me, I find that I'm the most vulnerable with myself in a journal, so that's what helps me the most.
So if you were to tell somebody that was just getting into it, like trying to figure out how to kind of tap back into their own brain without searching for that connection with an outside source, what would be the best way? You think journaling would be the best way to kind of?
Well, if you've never journaled before, it is really weird. It took me a long time to get into it.
Yeah.
But I personally think that journaling would be the best way. And for tips on how to start journaling, then would be literally just to start and no judgment of what you're writing. So
Okay.
a lot of times for me, especially if I'm not maybe say in a good headspace and I'm journaling, I have to wait for a couple pages to really get into what I need to get into. And the first stuff is just like bullshit or whatever,
Anything and everything.
Yeah, literally, because the beginning normally is like me fighting with whatever, like in my brain, like, and then it's like, okay, let's get the juice, and the juice will flow eventually, but you have to stick to it and just keep going. And then for me, naturally, then that better side or that coach or whatever will then just kind of come out, if that makes sense.
No, I love that. I love that. And I feel like that is definitely like the perfect place to stop, because like that is, you're leaving all of the energy on the page, and that's a perfect like spot for somebody to come back to and be like, hey, it's okay to write down all your emotions on the journal and really, just let it out, because you're talking to yourself, so to speak, but it's on paper, and it's something to reference back to.
Yeah.
And like, that's amazing. But I just want to say thank you so much for letting me interview you, and thank you for definitely always being there for me. And
What's that? Why is it over?
It's over for now, but that was dope. And
part two? Anyone want a part two?
Oh, fuck yeah. Let's definitely talk about that later. And I just want to say thank you for everybody for listening. And I hope you guys were able to get some very informative tips out of this episode, and kind of draw a little bit closer connection to myself and Cass. And